Back in Buffalo, Manhattan and Fairfield in the third of our 3 games in round number 2 here at the HSBC Arena. And let's take a look at tonight's starting lineups brought to you by I Love New York. Come out and play in New York State. Peter Mulligan, C.J. Anderson, Arturo Dubois. At the point, you've got the veteran Jason Wingate and then Jeff Xavier, who we showed you moments ago. On the flip side, O'Sullivan, Maxwell, Guy, Goody, and Todd.
3 freshmen starting for Manhattan. This young team came out with a ton of energy last time out in that thumping of Loyola.
And tonight's coaching matchup brought to you by Anaconda Sports and The Rock. Bobby Gonzalez in his 6th year at Manhattan College, and Tim O'Toole in his 7th season at his alma mater, class of 1986. The Rock, the official basketball of the MAAC. As we get underway, we see the series history between these 2 old rivals from the metropolitan area. And we are underway. The Stags wearing their home white uniforms as the number 3 seed in the tournament. Manhattan, meanwhile, had to earn its way into the second round by winning as the 6th seed last night over Loyola.
And they earned it with their defense right from the start. You see Dengai, we talked about his improved offense, not just on the low blocks, but his ability to step out and face up.
Well, it's tough to defend when Dengai, who's 6'9" and longer than that, he's got the wingspan of a 7-footer. When he steps out and hits 15-foot jumpers, that is hard to stop.
Well, you're not going to go out and challenge him on the perimeter. It's just too long.
Here's Dubois out to Mulligan, wide open for 3. O'Sullivan picks up the rebound. This is Taekwon Goody. He's a ball hawk on the defensive side, and he is the leader, number 5, and he's 5'5" for Fairfield. This is Goody, lob inside, knocked out of bounds by Dubois. Fairfield will keep it with 14 on the shot clock.
And as we said in the open, both these teams do a terrific job defensively. Bobby Gonzalez's team 2nd in the league in scoring defense at just a little over 70 points per game. Fairfield, the top team in the league, holding teams to just 67 points per game.
10 on the shot clock. O'Sullivan from the top of the key. Maxwell way above Mulligan, and the putback.
And Maxwell has had 2 real good games against Manhattan in the regular season. 22 in their win at home, and then 19 on the road in their loss at Grady Gymnasium.
Rob, I thought Mulligan kind of looked blindsided there. He turned around and was looking for a license plate. Had no idea that Maxwell was going to go up and over him. Xavier, who had the hot hand last night, picks up right where he left off.
Well, they try to mix things up defensively, but they lose track of Xavier. Xavier with tremendous confidence last night. He was pulling up on the break. Bobby Gonzalez said, I thought he was Del Curry there for a while in transition.
Well, he was 4 out of 8 from beyond the perimeter, part of his career-high 20-point effort that helped the Jaspers take care of Loyola. Todd off the curl, still with the dribble. The fadeaway for Fairfield's number 1 scorer.
And 10th in the league because he's playing with a lot of confidence. 18 straight games in double figures.
The junior from Neptune, New Jersey, averaging just a touch under 16 points per game. And he, like DeWitt Doss of Canisius in the previous game, closing in on 1,000 points. Doss got his tonight. Todd needs, 26 more to get there tonight. Xavier has O'Sullivan step right out on him. Shot clock down to 7. Wingate with 2 to shoot. And that's a shot clock violation. Nice help by Maxwell to come over.
Well, Fairfield coming out with the defensive energy to start things off, similar to the energy that we saw from Manhattan last night against Loyola. Here's where Manhattan got a lot done last night in their full court pressure. Right up in the press to start things off.
Taekwon Goody's going to be tougher to turn over than the Loyola guards. Todd able to hit the little runner. Quick timeout called by Bobby Gonzalez. He wants to talk things over with his Jaspers, who are down by 5, 3 minutes into the game.
Well, they've been confused on the offensive end as Fairfield's done a very good job switching and getting out to people. They've also done a good job at the back end against the pressure to go and attack. Once again, Todd with another runner. He's got 4 quick points to start things off, and this is how they started the game. Guy just stepping out, facing up. And again, he's just too long to be able to go up and get a hand in his face and challenge that shot.
Well, Fairfield won consecutive games to end the regular season. They're trying for their first 3-game winning streak of the season.
Yeah, that after having lost 4 games at home, they went on the road with a very solid win against Iona. They've been shooting the basketball terrific here at the start of the game, 4 for 5.
Todd with a couple of field goals, Guy with 1, and Maxwell with 1. It spells an 8-3 lead early here in Buffalo.
Playing a box and 1, trying to keep the basketball out of Wingate's hand. Everybody else in the zone.
That was the defensive player of the year, blocking the rookie of the year, and it turns into 2 at the other end for Terrence Todd.
And they certainly have Manhattan confused at the offensive end. Box and 1 against Wingate. Wingate did such a great job of driving the bus last night for Manhattan, but in the box and 1, you'll get openings for other guys like Xavier on the perimeter.
Mulligan got the shot off with a little help from Dubois, who was pushing Guy to keep him from jumping and blocking the shot. Dubois got away with a little dirty pool underneath, but Mulligan couldn't knock in the basket, and we got a foul out the other end.
Well, the defense right now, when you get easy shots inside, you've got to convert. None easy against Dengai, though. The defense coming over to knock it out and get him out in transition.
And Todd, who finished that break at the line, he already has 6 points of the 10 for Fairfield. Fairfield has an overall record of 14-14. They were 11-7 during the regular season. We saw the substitution. Junior point guard Jason Wingate replaced by junior point guard Kenny Minor. C.J. Anderson with the rebound. He'll dribble up himself. A very versatile freshman for the Jaspers. Dubois posting strong. Gets it up and over and in.
Again, secondary guys are going to have to step up. If you go against junk defenses, it's to take certain guys away, but your secondary guys will have good open looks. They've got to convert.
Now explain junk defenses, if you will.
Well, they're not in a traditional straight man-to-man, and they're not in traditional zone. They're matching up man-to-man against certain guys, and then zone principles from everybody else.
Lob attempt was denied by Manhattan, but Fairfield resets with 11 on the shot clock. Goody killed his dribble. Looking for someone to come to him. It's Todd. Maxwell. Beautiful block shot by Mulligan. And on the held ball, the possession arrow will give the ball to the Jaspers. Manhattan will have it when we come back. They're already down 5 early to Fairfield. Fairfield 10, Manhattan 5 in the early going of our second round game here at the MAAC tournament. And, well, we've got the best seats in the house, Rob and I, sitting courtside, midcourt. But we've got Bob Euchre on microphone up in the cheap seats. Bob?
I'm certainly in the cheap seats, but the interesting part about this, the beverages are very cold up here at the Harbor Club. This is a beautiful arena, by the way, when you actually get out from down at courtside, listening to all the coaches yelling at the players and the timeouts. But how about Manhattan getting the tables turned on them from last night with a great start defensively in their opener against Loyola. And here Fairfield comes out. And, Robbie, you mentioned it. Talk about junk defenses. The thing is, going after Wingate early really forces the freshman Xavier have to make decisions, because Wingate is really stymied and everybody's really struggling trying to get in their offense. So I'm gonna maybe go back up and have a quick beverage. Back to you guys, and we'll hopefully talk to you later.
All right, Dave. Stay out of trouble up there. Obviously going to have himself another Pepsi. O'Sullivan and Mulligan came together, and it's O'Sullivan called for the offensive foul.
And last possession, Fairfield continuing to mix up the junk defenses. This time, boxing 1, but not defending Wingate. The defender, Maxwell, hanging all over Mulligan. And again, Xavier got himself a good look along the baseline. It's going to open things up for others.
10-5 Fairfield.
So once again, Maxwell, tight man-to-man on Mulligan, trying to keep the basketball out of his hands. Everybody else in a zone.
Anderson with a terrific ball fake, but Goody stayed with it. There's Guy and Goody. They are roommates. They are teammates for 4 years, and defensively, they're the best inside-outside defenders, but they couldn't stop 2 for the Jaspers. 10-7 Fairfield. O'Sullivan back out to Goody. Again, Taekwon Goody wears number 5 because he's 5 feet 5 inches tall. And don't let his lack of height fool you. He is big in stature for this team, and so is DeWitt Maxwell. He averages 11 per game. That's his second field goal.
And Maxwell's a guy that gets lost in the shuffle sometimes when you talk about some of the best players in this league. He's a preseason 13 pick. Not honored in the postseason, but he had another solid season.
Minor air ball. Guy picks it out of the air.
That's what happens. You play junk defenses and you force other people to have to take shots. Minor not a very good three-point shooter, certainly not the strength of his game.
O'Sullivan back over to Taekwon Goody. Todd from 18 feet.
Solid pick and roll. Maxwell with the solid screen on the ball to free Todd up. You get the screen with 2 good offensive players. You know, you can't just all of a sudden double on the basketball because then Maxwell is too good offensively diving down the lane.
Foul on Maxwell, and on that pick and roll, Rob, it really shows how easy basketball can be if you do set a good screen and you know how to work a pick and roll.
Absolutely. When you set good, solid screens, you force the defense to make decisions. You see Minor gets caught up by the time he gets back out and challenges the shot. It's too late getting out there, and again, with Minor's size, Todd's able to shoot over top of him.
Xavier and Wingate in the backcourt. Mike Konovalchik has just come in, replacing C.J. Anderson for the Jaspers. This is Wingate coming up short. Maxwell the rebound, and here come the Stags on top 14-7. What a crossover by Goody. Mulligan came and blocked the shot.
He mugged him, got away with it.
Wingate felt so bad about it, he gave it right back to the Stags. Todd with another mid-range jump shot. This one's off the mark. Look at the hustle. Todd able to save, but Xavier picks it off. And the freshman from Pawtucket, Rhode Island, with the layup.
Bring on the Dancing Bears. A little ratty play from both teams. Good energy. Neither team taking care of the basketball.
Well, it's been a long day for each of these two teams. And you play in this 9:30 game. You sit around the hotel. You have yourself a late breakfast and a late lunch. You hope you can sleep in a little bit. But it's still a long day with a lot of time to fill. They both come out with good energy. That was Michael Bell misfiring on his first attempt since coming off the bench. Xavier off the mark. The Manhattan Jaspers are the 2-time defending champs, and they won't go down easy at both ends of the floor. Right now, though, down by 5 to the Stags.
It's a college in the city. A college in the country.
It's big.
It's small.
It's modern.
Traditional. It's Frisbee on the quad. It's big-time basketball at the Garden.
It's the best of all worlds.
Manhattan College. A world-class faculty and student body on a beautiful, quiet campus, minutes from the center of everything.
So come be a part of it. Manhattan College.
The best of all worlds.
The Stags are in town from Fairfield, Connecticut, and they've got a 5-point lead over the defending champion Jaspers from Manhattan. Last night in round 1, the backcourt of Jason Wingate and Jeff Xavier led Manhattan to a rout of Loyola, but at least in the early going so far here tonight, it's not been quite as fruitful for Xavier and Wingate.
Absolutely. Both guys posting career highs as they combined for 39 tonight. Just 5 points, 1 for 5 from beyond the 3. In each of the last couple possessions, they've been quick shots from Manhattan. Against the junk defense, you're going to get a lot of good open looks, but you've got to be patient and make that junk defense work because you'll find better shots.
Cujo Sagazzi has come into the game for the first time off the Fairfield bench. This is Cujo, number 20. On the perimeter with Todd, Bell, Maxwell, and then Guy inside. Sagazzi hits the 3.
Sagazzi's a guy that can come off the bench and give you some instant offense. Double figures first time these two teams met.
He's a 6'2 senior from Paris, and off the bench after sitting for the first 8 minutes, and he's got the touch. 8-point Fairfield lead. Anderson cuts it back to 6.
And again, if you're patient, you're going to find gaps against that zone defense at the back end of the box and one.
Then Guy finds Bell on the baseline. Todd for three. Terrence Todd has 11 points already. He has as many by himself as Manhattan has as a team.
And each of those last two shots, Mulligan out to challenge, just late getting there on the closeout. You see Bell just hanging all over Mulligan inside to keep the ball out of his hands.
C.J. Anderson called for the traveling violation, so the Stags get the ball back.
See the angst on Bobby Gonzalez's face right now. His team not handling the box and one. Mulligan sits down. Got to get player movement and get guys getting inside and cutting through the lane to find some opening.
Bell, another nice up fake, but then a poor entry pass. Now, these two teams played an instant classic all the way back in November. Rarely do we see MAAC regular season games in November, but these two teams faced off and went to double overtime. Fairfield wound up winning the game. Maxwell and Todd each went for 22 points, and then the Jaspers got them back late in the season, January 30th at Ratty Gymnasium.
Now with Mulligan on the bench, they go box and one against C.J. Anderson. Once again, it's Bell with the assignment to try and keep the basketball out of his hands.
Xavier showing me something with the runner.
And he's going to have plenty of opportunities, and that's what you've got to do. Secondary guys and the guys that aren't being guarded out of the box and one have to step up and make shots.
Todd draws the double team.
Now trying to mix things up defensively themselves. Showing you zone. Fairfield not a very good outside shooting team. It's just a little under 30% from beyond the three, so not a bad idea.
Good defense that time by Manhattan all the way around to block that shot. So we've got a jump ball, Bell and Wingate. Fairfield will keep possession. Mulligan will come back in.
Timmy O'Toole taking a 20-second timeout.
Timeout, Fairfield.
Now, so far, it's been not much of Dengai and a lot of Terrence Todd, the junior from Neptune, New Jersey, with 11 of the 20 points so far for Fairfield. Bobby Gonzalez, meanwhile, coming in not as the heavyweight in this year's tournament. They are the underdogs here tonight. Well, the New York Lottery MAAC Scholar Athlete of the Year is Corey Hinnon of Bayshore, New York. He's the St. Peter's Guard graduate student. Winners were selected based on GPA, community participation, and good sportsmanship. The New York Lottery, supporting education since 1967, salutes Corey Hinnon for his achievements. And earlier this evening here in Buffalo, we saw St. Peter's lose to Iona. Final score of 97-73, and unfortunately for Corey Hinnon and the Peacocks, they never were able to get on track.
Absolutely not. He and his backcourt mate of Kiki Clark outplayed by the backcourt of Iona. I'll tell you what, Iona has been very impressive, and their 2 wins so far here in the tournament.
Iona took care of Siena 68-51, and then the rout of St. Peter's in round number 2, 97-73. So, well, the Iona team that has won more MAAC postseason tournaments than any other MAAC school is seemingly clicking at the right time. Here's Bell from the corner.
Good ball movement against the zone to get the open look for Bell in the corner.
Xavier, the quick catch and shoot, but he comes up short. Guy, the rebound.
And he can get that shot anytime against that junk defense. You've got to make them work. Even though you're wide open, you can't be tempted to take quick shot after quick shot. They've got to extend possessions down at the offensive end and make that box and one work.
Meanwhile, Tim O'Toole will counter against this zone at the next dead ball by bringing in his best three-point shooter, Michael Van Scoy. Guy misses for the second time on this possession. Kenny Minor gets the rebound.
It's as if Guy hasn't gotten any touches in a while, so he almost feels like he's got to take a shot.
He gets touches at the defensive end.
He gets lots of them. Yet another block. Keeps moving up the career list. He's now tied at 7th all time against, along with Emeka Okafor.
Nice job by Konovelchik. Minor, Mulligan, Xavier Konovelchik, and C.J. Anderson on the floor for the Jaspers dressed in green. Nice hands by Tim O'Toole. He was a member of 2 NCAA tournament teams for Fairfield back in the day. He's got his alma mater's team on top by 7 as we head to break. 7:58 left to go here in the first half. Fairfield with a 7-point lead. There you see Dengai moving up the shot block list. The third-seeded Fairfield Stags with a 7-point lead over Manhattan. Meanwhile, the second-seeded Ryder Bronx earlier tonight moved into the semifinals, and the Pepsi player of the game was Jerry Johnson.
And he took over in that second half after getting off to a slow start. He was the catalyst that got things going, stepping back and knocking down threes. He got himself on a run and then got some help from his senior teammate Steve Castleberry inside.
Dave McGarity standing by with the 2 heroes of that last game. Dave?
Certainly the 2 heroes. They're both beaming here. It's what a terrific win for these guys, and first time in the history of their participation in MAAC the Riders got in those semifinals. How you guys feel?
It feels real good, but we still know we got to win 2 more games to make the ultimate goal.
I mean, Jerry, you guys really came out ready to play. What a great second half. You really exploded.
Yeah, well, we stepped up. I stepped up, and the team stepped up, and, it was a good win, a good first win for us.
What do you think about this beard that Castleberry's growing here? Listen, best of luck to you guys tomorrow. You got a tough game, whoever it's going to be. All right. Back to you guys, Doug.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, fellas, as they check out the nightcap of our triple header, Manhattan and Fairfield. Trying to earn that last spot in the semifinal.
And there's better patience from Xavier. Instead of settling for the 3 early on, making them work at the defensive end.
Alvin Carter has also come into the game for Fairfield. Nice help by Maxwell to maybe get a finger on that shot. Ball still loose, and it's Van Scoik who comes away with it for Fairfield.
Bodies all over the place on the floor. Maxwell and Dubois got tangled up when they went to the ground.
Van Scoik is the best 3-point shooter on the team. He's been a consistent threat from the perimeter during the MAAC regular season. It continues into the postseason.
And you got to get out and find them. If you're in zone, you got to make sure you know who's in your area to get out and challenge. Bell just hanging all over Peter Mulligan, not allowing the leading scorer from Manhattan to get touches against this boxing one.
Foul off the ball, as Fairfield has its largest lead of the game, 23-13. Alvin Carter whistled for the foul. That's the 3rd team foul against Fairfield. Just 1 foul called against Manhattan so far here in the first half. Quite a contrast to our last game. Anderson off the inbound.
Defensive breakdown again. Fairfield doesn't play a ton of boxing one, so now all of a sudden there's an opening in the lane. Anderson moving without the basketball, found the soft spot.
Todd trying to find Guy on the low post. Dubois fronting him, and so they swing it to the other side. Van Scoik again off with the good ball movement. Couldn't make it 2 in a row, though, and here comes Anderson. Manhattan down 8 with the ball. Backdoor to Mulligan at Guy, got the foul, and he'll shoot 2.
That's what you've got to do. You've got to go right at Dengai, not give him the option to adjust and get a hand on the basketball. Easier for him to block than me to say here in transition. Able to hang up there long enough, and you can't give him the opportunity and time to adjust to that shot and get an opportunity to block it. You got to go right at it.
And so Mulligan, who averages just a shade under 20 points per game. You saw he had 16 last night. He's got 1 so far here tonight. The senior from Harlem who joined the Manhattan program with Bobby Gonzalez after spending a couple of years at Maryland-Baltimore County, where he was a very good scorer. And he has carried that on here in the back. 1 out of 2 from the line. Manhattan down by 7. Goody and Todd in the backcourt along with Van Scoik. Carter and Dengai up front. This is Guy from the high post. Shot clock under 10. Nice kick to Van Scoik from the baseline for 2.
Absolutely. Dengai got the basketball in the middle, able to kick it off, and Van Scoik coming off the bench and getting some open looks.
5 quick points for the sophomore guard from Glens Falls. Wingate spotting up. Goody on the fly. Got to make something happen for Fairfield. Drop it off. Guy. He went up. Anderson fouled him. And Dengai will shoot 2.
Taekwon Goody so quick in transition, recognizing that Dengai was running with him, dumped it off. Nearly a thunderous dunk. Here's the speed of Taekwon Goody, just racing by everybody. Dumps it right off. Hard foul there by Anderson to deny the dunk by Guy.
Well, 6 years ago, Dengai was a refugee fleeing war-torn Sudan. He took a 3-day journey from Sudan to Egypt, which eventually got him to the United States, where he went to prep school in Connecticut. But he fled the country rather than being forced to join in the Civil War, which was the only thing he knew of his home country. And so it's worked out very, very well since he got to Fairfield, Connecticut, and quite likely has himself a future, at least getting a shot at the NBA next year. The lead is up to 11. This is the biggest lead for Fairfield.
Manhattan at the other end settling for too many threes, just 1 for 9 for beyond the three-point line. This boxing one has really confounded them on the offensive end.
You can see the frustration on the faces of the Jaspers. Mulligan against that boxing one doesn't like what he sees.
No, absolutely not. He's not gotten any touches in good scoring positions at the offensive end, and at times you're not quite sure whether or not to get yourself into man offense or zone offense.
Well, the Fairfield offense has been directed by Terrence Todd. 11 points already.
Absolutely. Putting the ball to the floor. He's very creative off the bounce. You see he gets himself inside and finishes. Not afraid to throw up the runner or pull it up off the dribble. He was the guy that got things started, got them out to that quick lead. Right now, that lead has ballooned up to 11, largest lead of the game.
And while Terrence Todd, the #1 scorer for Fairfield, has done what's been expected of him, the top scorer coming in from Manhattan, Peter Mulligan, has just 1 foul shot. That's it.
Yep, because they've kept the ball out of his hands. They have given up any type of help side off of him by staying in full denial out of the boxing one.
He and Garndy is checked into the game for the Jaspers to play inside. Manhattan trying to find Xavier in the corner, but Fairfield's defense, the best in the league. Van Scoik called for the reach-in foul. But we've talked about it before. This defense that Fairfield has is outstanding.
The reason why it's been so effective, you see the boxing one just not giving any help off of Mulligan. Van Scoik, we saw Bell earlier out of the boxing one, keeping it out of his hands. No good scoring opportunities so far for the leading scorer for Manhattan. Mulligan's had a tough go of it.
And as much as anything, Rob, it has served to frustrate Mulligan. You can get somebody off their game when they're frustrated.
Absolutely, and then what it does is it takes them out of their continuity and takes them out of a rhythm on the offensive end. Sometimes you just throw a junk defense in to break up an offensive rhythm, but it's worked so well that Timmy O'Toole's been able to stay with it the entire first half so far.
And not that Van Scoik is the lockdown defender of all time in the MAAC, but when you've got guys like Guy and Goody to help you out, go ahead, let her rip, see what you can do. Make guys like Xavier beat you.
And that's the thing. Xavier stepping up and making his second three. Nobody else has knocked down a three. Wingate, who had been shooting the basketball very well the last couple of nights, he's not been able to find the mark.
Maxwell, no. Guy, yes.
Yes, it's usually no on the other end when he's denying it with blocks all over. He just reaches over top of everybody for the offensive rebound. Makes it look easy. The reason a guy like Van Scoik can do a good job defensively against Mulligan is he's not worrying about helping out on anybody else. If somebody drives by him, he doesn't care. His assignment is to try and keep the ball out of Mulligan's hands and push him off his spots.
There's Van Scoik stripping it away to Goody. Van Scoik at the other end. And off the bench, he's been a spark offensively as well. He's got 7.
Absolutely, knocking down a three, a short jumper, and that time gets rewarded for his terrific defense with a leak out at the other end.
So Van Scoik with 7, and the lead is up to 31-19. And again, Mulligan being hounded by Van Scoik.
And look at that hustle. Timmy O'Toole's a guy who threw his body around as a player. Dang guy going over top of everybody right here. Makes it look easy. It's been easy so far for the Stags, up 12.
450 years of Jesuit tradition are woven into a Fairfield University education. An education characterized by academic excellence and service to the community. Fairfield's success is fostered by a caring faculty that knows their students as individuals. Located just an hour from New York City, Fairfield University combines a park-like campus conducive to learning with the city's cultural and career advantages. Fairfield University, where education reflects the challenges and opportunities of a changing world.
The Stags of Fairfield with a 12-point lead over the Jaspers of Manhattan. Fidelis Care is proud to sponsor the Fidelis Care family section, and indeed, happy birthday, Mom. Go Jaspers.
Go. And happy birthday to my daughter as well, Aaron. You know, I wasn't going to get that in, but if there's a happy birthday sign, I might as well get it on.
Now, this is her 6th birthday, right? Is she going to still, 7th birthday, is she still going to be up at 10:10 in the evening?
You know what? She probably is. Giving my wife a hard time, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Well, Fidelis Care, providing free or low-cost health insurance to all New Yorkers through the Child and Family Health Plus programs. Happy birthday as well to all of you enjoying this MAAC tournament as we enjoy bringing it to you all weekend long here in Buffalo. Xavier again. And again, nothing but net. He's got 13 points.
And interesting, with Mulligan out of the game, they go box and one, not against Xavier, but against Wingate. Switch it up. Xavier's the guy knocking down shots. Xavier hasn't done it. Wingate hasn't done anything.
Dubois picks up the foul. That is interesting that would be the course of action. Wingate hasn't scored tonight. Only scores 8.5 per game. It's not like he is typically the guy that Manhattan goes to. He's shot well the last couple of games, but by and large, you wouldn't think he's the type of guy you're going against.
And let's see if they adjust now. Off of the timeout, an opportunity to bring the defense over. He brought Van Scoik over to the bench, and I expect that you're going to see him hanging all over Jeff Xavier.
Maxwell made the first. He'll get the second. He's a senior from Newark, New Jersey. Konovelchik with the rebound. Minor and Wingate in the Manhattan backcourt in tandem along with Xavier, who is now being the focus of that box and one defense like you predicted, Rob.
Yep, they made the adjustment, and again, open shots for guys like Minor, but there's a reason why Minor's open when he has the basketball. You're inviting him to take shots. They've got to be more patient on the offensive end to find good shots. They're just frustrated right now. Obviously, they're going to have to make adjustments in the locker room, but again, Minor's wide open because he's not a good outside shooter. Can't keep settling for those shots.
Todd was called for the traveling violation, so Manhattan gets the ball back. 2:17 left to go here in the first half. Konovelchik. That's an air ball. Todd with a rebound.
And that basically sums up the type of junior season that Mike Konovelchik's had. He's got to come in and give him a lift here in this game, especially he can be a secondary guy to step up and make shots.
Maxwell on the offensive glass, kicked it out expecting Todd to be there, but he'd fallen, and so Van Scoik gives up the foul. That was not a good half-court set on the offensive end for Fairfield. Their spacing was very bad and disjointed, so Van Scoik winds up picking up his second personal foul, and it's the 7th against the Stags.
As much as Manhattan has struggled here in the first half, if they could get a little bit of a run to get themselves into the locker room, make some adjustments, and come out and attack that box and one better in the second half, they would be in decent position.
Darren Johnson has checked into the lineup for Manhattan for the first time. Mike Konovelchik and Kenny Minor have gone out. Peter Mulligan also back into the game for Manhattan. Michael Bell will check in and replace Michael Van Scoik, who was a big spark and gets the high fives along the bench. 7 points as he sits down.
And now you get fresh legs to come back in on that box and one to chase guys around. On a made foul shot, expect Manhattan to get up into full court pressure. They haven't gotten a lot done with their full court press here.
Wingate with his first 2 points tonight with under 2 minutes to go in the first half. It's back to an 8-point ball game. Get the ball into the hands of Goody and then back off. Taekwon Goody, a 5'5" senior from Grady High School, Last year was the MAAC Defensive Player of the Year, in large part because his teammate and roommate Den Guy was injured. Guy won it 3 of the other 4 years while they've been in college together.
And the MAAC's only given that award out 4 years, and all 4 years it's been to a Fairfield Stag, 3 times to Den Guy, and then, as you mentioned, to Taekwon Goody. Fairfield's done a good job of moving the basketball, trying to play a little inside out. Maxwell kicks it out, and then the extra pass allows for the good dump in inside. Even though they don't score it, good ball movement by the Stags.
Konovalchik will replace Dubois, who sits down having picked up the foul. Foul number 2 on Dubois, so Bobby Gonzalez will protect him for the final minute 35. Den Guy got 1 out of 2 from the line. The senior has 7 points. Fairfield's lead is 9. Wingate gets the pass tipped. Bell hustles after it, and again, Fairfield turns over Manhattan.
So it's not been Manhattan that's forced the turnovers with the pressure. That time, Fairfield turns the tables and gets a turnover out of their press.
Wingate takes it from Goody. Konovalchik just coming up court. Gave a shoulder to Den Guy again, thinking as a teammate, trying to keep him from being able to get in position to block a shot. That's the second time we've seen a Manhattan player clearly find Guy and try and push him out of the way so he can't block a shot.
And you see Bobby Gonzalez. What's going on? He thought there was a lot of contact, no whistle.
The contact was initiated by his player off the ball. I don't remember ever seeing, that's got to be in the scouting report. They are consistently doing that, finding Guy when they think he might be getting in position to block a shot. That's amazing.
Wingate trying to get himself deep into the lane after the nice steal, and here comes Guy out of nowhere.
Konovalchik's shoulder block didn't do anything to deter Den Guy. 33-24, Fairfield with a 9-point lead. Here's Guy from the high post. Bell took a shot to the face by Mulligan after the whistle. Foul is called against Bell, and so we'll walk to the other end. That's the 8th team foul against Fairfield.
Guy trying to put the ball to the floor, make something happen. You see the off arm of Mulligan, got a piece of Bell right there. Mulligan frustrated, certainly at the offensive end. He's not gotten any touches in good scoring positions, no field goals.
None for Mulligan or none for Wingate.
Yeah, and Wingate again missed that open 3. For Mulligan, he hasn't been able to find many shot attempts.
Give the credit to the Fairfield defense. They have made it difficult on the Jaspers here in the first half.
And to the coaching staff for coming up with the game plan. Going to the box and 1 and not being afraid to stay with it. It's been so successful, why get out of it? With all that being said, though, Manhattan still only trails by 7.
Terrence Todd had 11 quick points in the first half for Fairfield, but he's been quiet the last several minutes. In fact, the Stags as a team have been quiet with no field goals over the last 3 minutes. And that has allowed Manhattan to hang around.
Xavier trying to track it down from the backside, nearly came up with the steal, got there just a half second late, but that's just the 6th foul on the Jaspers, so side out.
Goody with the ball out there with Bell, Maxwell, Todd, and Guy.
And they've got the ability to hold on to the basketball for the last shot of the first half.
Goody had it knocked off of him, out of bounds, Manhattan ball.
Goody's turned it over a couple times now, isolated one-on-one. Amazingly enough, if Manhattan can get something on this possession, they'd have a little momentum going into the locker room and some time to figure out what they're going to do to attack the box and 1.
Tim O'Toole able to get the timeout just before Manhattan inbounded it, so with 18.9 seconds to go in the half, both teams will talk it over.
And why do you take it there? It's not a use it or lose it. He already took a timeout in the first half. tell you what, in a close game, you're going to want those timeouts at the end of the game. I don't like that one.
Fans, you can get the latest MAAC news and scores sent right to your wireless phone by signing up for the MAAC Verizon Wireless Coaches Corner. Just go to the conference website at www.maacsports.com. That's MAACsports.com. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
Manhattan trying to build on a 7-2 run that's gotten them back into the game here, down by 7. Again, a little momentum for his team. Timmy O'Toole's defense has certainly stymied Manhattan throughout this first half.
Now we like to talk about Bobby Gonzalez, and we talk about Jimmy Patsos, the Loyola head coach, but Tim O'Toole's right there for sideline intensity. He takes a backseat to nobody.
He coaches like he played.
So now Manhattan, with 13 seconds to play with, down 7.
They go no box in one, instead just straight zone.
Anderson hands back to Xavier. Gonna have to hurry. Konovalchik at the buzzer, couldn't get it to go, and Fairfield's defense continues to hold.
That time not in a box in one, but certainly that's been the story throughout the first half. Peter Mulligan's had a tough half because he hasn't been able to find any good scoring opportunities. Just 0 for 3 because the box and one defense of Tim O'Toole's team has certainly negated Mulligan.
Offensively, Terrence Todd is the leading scorer for Fairfield with 11. On the flip side, Peter Mulligan, no field goals, just 3 foul shots. And we send it over to Dave McGarity, standing by with Fairfield head coach Tim O'Toole.
Thanks a lot, Doug. Timmy, terrific job defensively, and I know you got to be happy with the game plan and the way they executed it for you.
Well, you know, we want to put pressure, especially on some of their scores. I mean, Xavier's kind of killing us out there, and we got to do a better job. We had too many turnovers toward the end, and you know, especially against a team like Manhattan that puts a lot of pressure on you. You can't cough it up like that.
Well, I thought Wingate, you really took him out. They got them out of the flow, and they struggle with that, and I think that had a big impact on that half.
Well, you know, I'm hoping so, but you know, again, you know them. They're going to make their adjustments, and we're going to have to make our adjustments, and it's going to be a dogfight in the second half.
Well, best of luck to you, Coach.
Thanks.
All right. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Dave. And the two-time defending league champs find themselves trailing by 7 at the intermission. The defense, the box and one, and the other junk defenses of the Stags getting it done. 33-26 at the intermission. We'll take a break and come back to the HSBC Arena in Buffalo with our halftime show here on the MAAC Television Network.
Introducing Gray Line New York Sightseeing's Showbiz Insiders Tour. This is the only way you'll be able to experience all the behind-the-scenes magic riding inside a luxurious deluxe motor coach to the New Amsterdam Theater, home of Disney's The Lion King. Meet a Broadway actor for an intimate performance at Gray Line's private theater, the Radio City Stage Door Tour, or a picture with a Rockette, the NBC Studio Tour with Jay Leno and Saturday Night Live, lunch at Planet Hollywood in the heart of Times Square, and much, much more. Exclusively for MAAC family and friends, Gray Line has special hotel packages, which include the Hop-On, Hop-Off double-decker bus all-loops tour. Please call 1-800-669-0051 or visit us at NewYorkSightseeing.com for all the excitement today.
Family. It's what the MAAC and Special Olympics are all about. Working together to overcome obstacles, braving new challenges, achieving goals, and exceeding expectations. The MAAC and Special Olympics, teammates promoting the true spirit of competition.
Back in Buffalo, Fairfield with a 33-26 lead. We take a look at the first half stats brought to you by FYE for your entertainment, music, movies, games, and more.
And you can see Manhattan very confused against the box and one, just 33%, but 3 of 15 from beyond the three-point line, settling for way too many three-point shots against that defense.
Manhattan has the basketball to begin the second half. Wingate, Mulligan, Xavier, Dubois, and Anderson, the same starting 5 for the Jaspers, who are in their road green uniforms as the number 6 seed. Fairfield, meanwhile, the number 3 seed in their home whites, and there is Taekwon Goody all over Anderson, who has it knocked away by Todd, loose on the floor, and Here come the Stags off of their defense. It's a 3-on-1. O'Sullivan to Todd. And that was not a good fast break.
No, their defense got a good stop at the other end, but then couldn't convert in transition.
Wingate killed his dribble. And he's bailed out by a foul call against DeWitt Maxwell.
And first possession, Fairfield comes out and continues to mix things up. They get out of the junk defense and go straight zone. Jeff Xavier needs some help. He's the guy that stepped up and made shots against the box and one. He's got 13 points. The problem is his teammates have just 13. You look down the line, Wingate, who's playing so well, he's been a non-factor, as has been their two leading scorers. C.J. Anderson very quiet, and we've talked about the struggles for Mulligan.
Well, between those three top scorers, they have 2 field goals for Anderson and 1 for Mulligan, none for Wingate.
And remember, both Mulligan and Anderson come into the game in the top 7 in the league in scoring. Mulligan's 3rd in the league in scoring. Anderson 7th. These are guys that put up good numbers all season long. They have been consistently frustrated by the defense of Fairfield.
1 minute into the second half, still 33-26. The two Manhattan freshmen both got good looks. Neither could finish.
Absolutely, especially Dubois. You had Dengai coming over to challenge off the dribble penetration from Anderson, and Dubois had an easy putback, just left it short.
Todd loves that mid-range game. Missed the scoop shot. Dubois, with the broad shoulders, holds off the Stags for the rebound. Wingate off the dribble. Anderson being more assertive in the paint. He'll go to the line for 2.
And with all that's gone wrong for Manhattan, as we said at the end of the first half, they're still hanging in there in the basketball game. If they can get themselves going offensively, they can get themselves back into it. They've been able to get after it on the offensive glass each of the first 2 possessions here in the second half, and that shows you that they're coming out with some good energy and effort coming out of the locker room.
Marty O'Sullivan picked up his 3rd foul. And Anderson hit the first, the 6'6" freshman from Cincinnati. Only a 56% foul shooter, but other than that, his stats as the MAAC Rookie of the Year have been outstanding. Now the pressure by Manhattan. The lead is down to 5, and Dengai is fouled by Dubois.
And that's a silly foul for Dubois, his 3rd. Trying to defend out of the full court pressure against Dengai, 70 feet from the basket. You see right here, he's got his hand on his back. He reaches in, and then right there's the grab. That's an easy one. Dubois had problems all season long with foul troubles. He didn't like it, but that was an easy one right here in front of us.
And so now Mike Konovelchik comes back into the game, replacing Dubois, who was on the bench with 3 fouls 90 seconds into the second half. Foul on the shot. Maxwell will shoot a pair.
Seen Fairfield doing a good job all game long of making the extra pass. Ball reversal out of the scramble. They tried to get the trap in the left corner, but by swinging the basketball, you get a nice entry from Sullivan inside to Maxwell. By the time Konovalchik comes over to recover, he's too late.
(35-28), Fairfield back up by 7.
In their full court pressure, which they had some success with in the first half.
Anderson with a great spin move, but he missed the finger roll.
Too many missed opportunities in the lane.
And a missed opportunity there as the pass from Todd was a little too far out in front of Dengai.
You can throw it as high as you want, but not as far as you want. Unable to track it down. 2-2-1 full court pressure. Does 2 things. They've had a couple trap opportunities out of it, but it also slows Manhattan down. Now just 23 seconds to attack in the half court.
Mulligan has it knocked away by O'Sullivan, and then the contact at midcourt and a blocking foul against Wingate.
The frustrations continue for Peter Mulligan, first team All-MAAC selection. Nothing going right for him. Trying to spin and get himself in the hands of Goody, forced the turnover, and then Todd out in transition.
On Wingate, his second foul, he's taken out. Minor comes back in. They go right into Guy on the post, who has Konovalchik defending, but he can't make it. Todd gets the rebounding foul. That's number 2 on Mr. Todd.
They quickly recognized the mismatch with Guy inside, put it where they wanted against Konovalchik in the post.
Todd was the Fairfield player who had the hot hand when the Stags opened up the lead in the first half. He's got 11 points. He hasn't scored, though, in quite a long time. Xavier. O'Sullivan with a rebound.
And his feet weren't quite set on the kick out of the double team. Mulligan able to find Xavier, but he didn't make a clean catch.
Anderson fouled Guy on the entry pass.
You got to move your feet if you're playing into post. Instead, he tries to reach over top. Not going to be able to reach over top a Guy. He's just way too long. Lazy defense on the post entry there, as Anderson grabs his ankle as he comes up after picking up his third foul.
And that will necessitate another change. Anderson has been quiet here tonight, only 6 points. And you see the frustration on the youngsters' face on the Manhattan bench. They trail by 7. Ian Garndy has come back in for the Jaspers. O'Sullivan lost it out of bounds. Manhattan was the last to touch, so Fairfield keeps it. Todd into O'Sullivan.
Boy, it's a struggle right now for either team to get anything going on the offensive end.
Xavier looking around for Goody and missed the shot.
Manhattan still looking for their first field goal here in the second half.
Interesting how Taekwon Goody, without even being in the front court, is able to be a defensive presence.
I guess it is a struggle. Neither team able to score the basketball. 0 for 10 combined. I'm not quite sure if you would call that a shot attempt. Maybe 0 for 11.
Mulligan finally gets one through.
And again, when you go right at Dengai and don't allow him to adjust and get a piece of the basketball, you can go and get good stuff inside in the paint.
And then you see on that pressure by Manhattan, Dengai is the perfect safety valve. Just throw it up, and like you said, you can throw it as high as you want. He's the only one who's going to get it.
Absolutely.
Quick move to the basket.
And no defense or rotation, no help side, as Todd's able to get by his man with the quick first step and get all the way from the three-point line to the basket undeterred.
Xavier was overplaying to the baseline, and like you said, got no help. Mulligan might have had Ngarndi on the low post. Instead brings it back out to Minor. Xavier with the floater. He can't get the roll. Maxwell tips to Xavier. Nice look to Mulligan. And Guy picks up another foul.
Well, Mulligan now trying to assert himself on the offensive end.
Foul number 2 on Dengai. And we've got ourselves a timeout. 15:07 left to go second half. The Manhattan Jaspers down 7, but Peter Mulligan and his demonstrative coach, Bobby Gonzalez, trying to come from behind. A berth in the MAAC semifinals on the line here in Buffalo. Fairfield Stags trying to get back to the MAAC semifinals. And that brings us to our Broadway marketing mind-bending trivia question. Back in 1997, the first year of the tournament here in Buffalo, Fairfield won that MAAC championship. But where did they finish in the regular season standings? We'll have the answer for you in just a few minutes. Broadway Marketing, mind-bending branded solutions. And I'm telling you, Rob, I was here for that, and that truly was one of the magical postseason performances you'll ever see with Fairfield coming from nowhere to win that championship. And, you know, people talk about Willis Reed and what he did for the Knicks back in the early 70s, but Shannon Bowman had a similar type of role after having been injured for the better part of the season to help will that team to come from nowhere and go on to the NCAA tournament, where they very nearly knocked off the Tar Heels of North Carolina.
They certainly gave them a scare, went into the NCAA tournament with a losing record, but certainly represented themselves well as a MAAC champion in that first round.
Paul Cormier, the head coach back in the day. Manhattan back within 5. Nearly 5 minutes gone here in the second half. Michael Van Scoik has come back for Fairfield. O'Sullivan finds Guy. Plenty of time on the shot clock still. It's at 17.
Maxwell really working for inside position with Konovalchik hanging all over him.
Now the clock becomes a factor. Konovalchik and Wingate take it away. Todd forced into the turnover, and the Jaspers trying to make him pay. Down 5. Konovalchik. Bodies flying everywhere, and Guillen Garndy was the last to touch it, so Fairfield will get it back.
Jaspers have shown you good energy here in this second half, but a lot of missed opportunities. Konovalchik getting himself into the lane, trying to make something happen. Nothing there. Ball goes back over to Fairfield.
There's the long pass ahead. The catch by Maxwell, and he's hammered by Konovalchik. And here comes everybody on the floor, come running to the other end to make sure nothing extra happens.
Led by the 3 officials. Coming right at you. Van Scoik, who gave him a good lift in the second half. Great outlet, 2-hand over the head, coming right at you. Tough, hard foul by Konovalchik. But he got a piece of the basketball, and because of that, does not get called for the intentional foul.
He does get his second personal foul, and Maxwell seems to be no worse for wear. Although who knows what's ringing inside his head right now. He did take a pretty good shot.
Maxwell's one of those guys that you really expect to make a big jump next year in his senior season. He'll have a lot more scoring opportunities in a low post. Had a solid junior year. But I think he's the type of guy that could really have a breakout year next year in his final season.
Well, he's only 6'5", and he really doesn't have much of a perimeter jump shot, but he shoots very, very well. He was second in the league in field goal percentage at 54%, and that is a good indication that he knows how to get his shot off and where to get his shot off and doesn't take too many bad shots.
Yeah, and the other thing, he's got the ability to put it on the floor on the perimeter, just like Peter Mulligan does there, getting himself into the gap.
Now Mulligan getting himself into the game with 9 and getting the Jaspers back in the game, back to within 3. This is the closest it's been since the first half.
And Fairfield has been out of that box and one that was so effective throughout the first half. We've not seen it yet here in the second.
Van Scoik and Bell out there with Todd, Maxwell, and Guy. Shot clock down again. Todd, wraparound pass, and the foul with 5 on the shot clock. Foul on Wingate.
Good penetration by Todd as once again he gets himself deep into the lane. And Maxwell gets himself back to the foul line. Left a couple points 15 feet away as he missed his last 2.
Cujo Sagazzi comes back in, replacing Terrence Todd. Fans, this season Aero Postal is donating an article of clothing for every free throw made during conference play. And Aero Postal and the MAAC are distributing these clothes to youth groups in our communities. Thank you very much to Aero Postal. See, 2,843 shots were made during the regular season, so that's how many articles of clothing are going out.
And now they're back to the box and 1 with Bell hanging all over Mulligan. Good change right there. Manhattan started to get into an offensive rhythm against the straight zone.
Now the lead was down to 3, and Now we've got a foul on the shot.
And first time they see the box and one here in the second half. They obviously made adjustments at halftime because they get some more movement right here. Instead of standing around, they get some movement. Konovalchik gets into the open area, picks up the foul. Got to get player movement and ball movement as Dengai picks up his third foul. That could be a huge factor coming down the stretch.
Well, now Tim O'Toole has a decision to make. Do you keep your Defensive Player of the Year on the floor with the 3 fouls, or do you pull him out?
Yes, keep him on the floor. He's got the ability, he's shown it all season long for Timmy O'Toole to play and not get himself in foul trouble. When you and I had their second matchup of the season in Dratty Gymnasium, he took him out, put him to the bench with 2 fouls in the first half, and that really changed the whole complexion of the game as Manhattan ran off to the big halftime lead and then hung on.
Konovalchik able to get 1 out of 2, so it's back to a 3-point ball game. Maxwell knifes to the basket and kisses it off the window.
And that's where he is effective. Slashing to the basket, starting off on the perimeter. As you said, not a good 3-point shooter, perimeter shooter, but he is good at putting the ball to the floor and getting by it.
And now the senior from Science High School in Newark, New Jersey has 10 points.
Wingate a little hesitant to pull the trigger. Minor's not. Tell you what, he's missed a couple, but he's got us back once again to a 2-point lead. Score clock here in the arena says it's a 3-point lead, but I think, at least I thought that was a 3. Clock here in the arena still says it's 40-37. Well, clearly it looked like his feet were behind the line. Bench loves it. They think it's a 3. I think we're going to get a look at it. Actually, the officials have not taken a look at it, and the score here in the arena still says that it's 40-37. I'm not sure if anybody on the Manhattan bench realizes that.
And it doesn't appear that the officials are aware of what we're saying.
No, I don't think anybody realized that. Nobody on the Manhattan bench. Clearly, you take a look here. He steps up. It looks like, to me, both feet are behind the line, right?
Close enough to check. If they thought for sure it was a 2, I would say you definitely have to go to video and take a look. That, to me, looks like...
close. Maybe not. Maybe he's on the line.
But I can't believe there's not a discussion on the other side of the court going on like we have. It's close enough that either way, I would think one team or the other would be questioning it.
Anyway, Manhattan with some energy right now. They've gotten themselves back into the game. This is the closest it's been in a long time. Manhattan's never led.
Well, we'll get back to our mind-bending trivia question brought to you by Broadway Marketing. And the Stags, when they ran the table back in '97, what place were they heading into the tournament? They were the 8th seed. They were 2-12 during the regular season, and one of the few teams in the history of college basketball to take a losing record into the NCAA tournament. Broadway Marketing, mind-bending, branded solutions. Guys like Greg Francis were the captain. Shannon Bowman we talked about as the
inspirational leader.
Absolutely. The things that he brought to the court they couldn't replicate when he was out and injured. And when he came back, even though he wasn't anywhere near 100%, as I recall, he had that ankle or foot heavily wrapped, might have had some piece of equipment on it. He played through it, and his game was not predicated on athleticism. So he was a huge boost for Fairfield.
And a couple of those upsets in the tournament. You think of a Siena team that also went into the NCAA tournament with a losing record. One of the reasons why they've changed the format, giving the regular season champion the double bye into the semifinals.
We'll take a break. The Manhattan Jaspers muscling their way back into this ball game. They were down at the half by 7. It's now down to 3 here on the MAAC Television Network. Fairfield's lead is down to 3. It's 40-37 with 11:58 left to go here in the second half. And Bobby Gonzalez and the Jaspers have won the last 2 MAAC tournaments, but Dengai trying to knock them out here in the second round. Keep in mind, Dengai playing with 3 personal fouls. It's been a relatively quiet game until now.
Nothing quiet about that one. Great play out of the timeout. Excellent execution on the baseline out of bounds. Little screen, the screener, and then, as we said, throw it as high as you want. Dengai over top of everybody. Starts in. Here comes the screen from Bell. Solid screen from Bell. And then over top of everybody. Talk about posterizing somebody. Here comes Dengai right on top of you.
And you give Jason Wingate credit for trying, but come on.
That's not going to work. Win or lose, his teammates will remind him of that one for a while.
And instead, he picks up his 3rd personal foul, and Fairfield gets a big boost, like you say, off of the inbound play coming out of the timeout. It's a 6-point ball game once again.
Especially the way they've struggled out of their half-court offense to get a nice execution on a baseline out of bounds for a 3-point play. That's huge.
Meanwhile, Guy has 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 block shots, along with those 3 fouls. Maxwell playing good defense.
You see the confidence of Wingate not there. He had the open 3 instead of taking it. Tried to put it to the floor. Created a tougher shot for himself.
Cujo Sagadzi, the senior who played his high school ball in Nyack, back at the point. Right to the basket, and he's fouled. Mulligan got him on the way up.
Sagadzi able to turn the corner as Wingate got hung up on the screen. Taking it strong to the goal.
That's the first foul on Mulligan. And Sagadzi, who hit a 3 in the first half, looking for his first points here in the second half. 6'2", 195 pounds. He's capable of putting up some big points if given the opportunity minutes-wise. They've been kind of tough to come by here as a senior, but he was the MAAC Player of the Week back on December the 6th. He had scored 25 points in a game at Canisius out here in Buffalo. And earlier in the week, he had the tying basket in the first overtime in the first Manhattan game. He is a clutch player and a terrific ace in the hole for Tim O'Toole and the Fairfield Stags coming off the bench.
Now Manhattan's got to get some movement against the box and one.
And Garndy
trying to make like Dengai on the offensive rebound over top of everybody. But that's how Dengai does it. Technical foul on Dengai for hanging on the rim. Timmy O'Toole doesn't like it, saying he was hanging on the rim to protect himself. Somebody was there. The officials are going to talk it over.
He's orchestrating from the backcourt what he wants done.
Yeah, nobody was there. That's a good call on the technical. Over top of everybody. Just hanging, swinging around right there. And Peter Mulligan will go to the other end for the technical foul shots.
Mulligan able to get 1 out of the 2.
That breaks a 6-0 Fairfield run. And it was Dengai running the floor and dunking over top of everybody.
Just at the point where I said it's been a relatively quiet night, he has gone up above the rim twice for a couple of rim rockers.
He heard you, said, let me make some noise, huh? Off the baseline out of bounds, great execution. And that time running the floor over top of everybody.
Well, this is a guy who had 13 block shots in 1 game this year against Siena. And as we've talked about, he has climbed up the all-time shot blocking lists in NCAA tournament history. And he can do it at the offensive end, too. They call him the chief around here, and he is chief in their offensive and defensive plans.
And that athletic play is why there's so many NBA scouts here in the building this weekend to get a good look at him. He certainly could be a specialist with his shot blocking ability and his length and athleticism. You saw that running the floor and elevating over top of everybody.
Xavier answers with a huge 3.
And they've needed that. He was the guy that kept them in the game in the first half with his 13 points. They're going to need his outside shooting to cut into this 5-point deficit.
10:20 to go in regulation. Fairfield trying to hang on. Maxwell working on Anderson. Guy off the up fake is fouled by Dubois, who had just come back into the game.
Dubois with the hand check as Dengai facing up. with the ball on the floor, trying to make things happen. He's been much more aggressive here in the last couple minutes.
That's the 4th foul on Arturo Dubois. And immediately Bobby Gonzalez will, upon realizing that, get Mike Konovelchik back into the game, and Dubois goes back out. Well, earlier this season, Dengai passed Shaquille O'Neal, Purvis Ellison, Dikembe Mutombo, among others. He's now the 8th all-time shot blocker in NCAA history. Make that 7, tied for 7. Is that tonight?
Yep, had a couple blocks. Now shares that spot with Emeka Okafor.
Not a bad name to have yours aligned with. Well, that 13 blocks was one shy of the single-game record. David Robinson and Sean Bradley, 2 of the others who got 14.
Bell once again hanging all over Mulligan. They can't get stuff happening for Mulligan. Here's where you just got to run your man offense, not worry about what they're running, so that you get some ball movement and player movement. Instead, the indecision leads to another turnover.
Fairfield up 6 with possession. Todd, Maxwell, Bell, Guy, and Sagazzi out there for the Stags. Maxwell spins, hangs, misses. Guy picks the rebound out of the ear of Konovelchik, and he's fouled on his 2nd attempt back in the basket.
It's as if he's 8 feet tall. We've said it before, when he's blocking shots, it's like Inspector Gadget, and all of a sudden a hand comes out of nowhere. That's exactly what he does on this offensive rebound. So he gets in and then just reaches over top of everybody. Look how long he is right here, staying with it long enough to get himself an opportunity from the line once again.
Anderson is 4th foul, and if you're Konovelchik there, you've got to lay a body on him.
Push him out. I mean, if you do that, you're going to pick up an over-the-back foul. Instead, you don't box out and you don't make contact. Here's Bell just hanging all over in the box and one. You see Mulligan gets nothing going. The frustration, indecision leads to the turnover. Another double-double, and with those 3 blocks now in sole possession of 7th place on the NCAA block list.
The winner of this game gets Ryder tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock in the 2nd of the 2 MAAC semifinals. Sagazzi pounced on the loose ball off of Minor, and he earns a trip to the line. Minor was indecisive with his dribble, and Sagazzi, like a cat, jumped all over it.
And their whole team has been indecisive about how they're going to attack the block and one. Nothing going on, and here's the hustle by Sagazzi. Another hard foul, and Gardy that time with the bump. Sagazzi happy to get up, bounce up, and head right to the line.
First foul on Ngarndi. I'm telling you, Sagazzi is just a tremendous weapon to have on that bench for Fairfield as Wingate comes back in for Minor.
And that's a good substitution. You got to get Wingate back into the game, and you've got to get some motion against that box and one. Too much standing around and indecision.
2 for 2 for Cujo Sagazzi. Back to a 9-point ball game. Wingate, Mulligan, Xavier, Konovelchik, and Ngarndi on the floor for Manhattan. Foul before the shot. Manhattan has had a couple of MIAs missing in action. C.J. Anderson has only 6. Wingate, you see, only 2. And still looking for his first field goal.
And he hasn't had the same confidence that we saw last night when he let things fly. Career high 19 against Loyola, including 3 threes. He missed his first couple of 3-point attempts here tonight. And then since then, he hasn't pulled the trigger from 3.
And this from a guy shooting 41% on the year.
He has converted from the line. 0 for 7 field goals, but a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line.
(50-43) Fairfield. Todd, who had 11 quick points in the first half, has just the 2 here in the second half. And that's how we got him.
Yep.
Could have had 2 more, couldn't finish. Maxwell, though, to clean up on the offensive glass.
They've done a very good job on the offensive glass. Last couple of possessions, Fairfield's gotten extra opportunities because of offensive rebounding. Quick first step once again, blows by Xavier. Once again, no help side defense, and Garndy gets there late, then gets flat-footed. Doesn't come up with the defensive rebound. Maxwell back to the line. He's been there a lot here in the second half because of his activity on the offensive boards.
Kenny Minor comes back in, and Konovelchik goes out. So a small lineup for Manhattan, and Garndy is the biggest at 6'8", 210 pounds. There is Garndy rebounding the miss. Mulligan strong to the basket, cleaning it up, and Garndy, but he missed. Poked it away from Guy, and Manhattan fortunate to get the ball back.
Well, he kept it alive, but he wasn't able to clean it up. They missed a couple easy putback opportunities in the lane.
Manhattan down 8, just over 8 minutes to go. Mulligan with the jump stop. Guy with the rebound.
And he's forced to force shots because nothing going on.
On the shot clock as Terrence Todd starts from the center circle. He draws the contact. Mulligan picks up the foul.
And picks it up with just 8 seconds on the shot clock. Fairfield doing a good job taking some time off the clock as they grind it out.
Bobby Gonzalez wants a timeout after Mulligan picked up his second personal foul. We'll step away from the HSBC Arena in Buffalo. Fairfield with an 8-point lead over Manhattan. We're back in Buffalo, and there's one of the big Jasper fans here in attendance at HSBC Arena. His spirits are still up, even though his team's been down for the better part of tonight's ball game. 51-43 right now. Bobby Gonzalez trying to find the magical mix, and so far it just hasn't worked out. We see the reset. 3 timeouts remaining for the Jaspers, 2 for Fairfield. And Terrence Todd at the line. Todd's a very good foul shooter, 82% on the year. But you see it's been quiet. Really those 11 points he had in the first half came in the first 10 minutes of that first half. It's been a long time with only 1 field goal for Fairfield's top scorer.
Had 3 straight runners in the lane to start the game. Really set the tone as Fairfield got out to that lead. Now Fairfield back in the straight zone, out of the box and 1, going 3-2. Manhattan's had a lot more success attacking the 3-2 zone than they have against the box and 1.
C.J. Anderson's come back into the game for Manhattan, as has Arturo Dubois. So the starting 5 back out for the Jaspers, and we've not been able to say that much here tonight. Shot clock at 5, and Wingate fires it up and makes it.
Oh, he said he hasn't had the confidence. That time he had no choice but to throw it up. Shot clock winding down. And I'm telling you what, with everything that's gone wrong for Manhattan, they still only trail by 6. Fairfield has not been able to throw a knockout punch because they have not done a good job at this end of the floor either.
Bell couldn't answer. Fight for the rebound comes to Anderson. C.J. Anderson off to Wingate, who just hit a deep 3 from 15 feet. Can't get the roll. Dubois, if he's called for that foul, that's the end of his evening. We'll see who it goes against.
I think it's going to be on Guy, and that will be his 4th. And so Dubois will go to the line. Dubois doing a good job being active on the offensive glass. At the other end, Guy nearly had an offensive putback himself. Here Dubois going hard. Contact from behind. They call the foul on Dengai.
And so Dubois to the line, only a 55% foul shooter. As Manhattan just tries to keep hanging around and stay in the ball game.
Sometimes when your offense is struggling as much as it is, you just need one of these. You step out, knock down a 25-footer late in the shot clock. Nothing happening, but every once in a while you need a play like that to jumpstart things.
Now Dengai takes a seat with those 4 fouls. Bell also checks out.
An opportunity to rest them and protect them with those 4 fouls for a while. Expect them back into the game at least by the last media timeout.
Dubois gets 1 out of 2, and this for Manhattan is an opportunity to get a better look at the basket. Better chance to drive at the basket with Dengai on the bench.
Got to take advantage of the fact that he's not in there.
Goody, Todd, Sagadzi. O'Sullivan's back in, and this is DeWitt Maxwell.
Manhattan switches things up defensively as they go zone. So both teams mixing things up, trying to keep the other off balance offensively.
Sagadzi misses from the corner. O'Sullivan tips. Goody picks it up.
The 12th offensive rebound for the Stags, and clearly here in the second half, that's bailed them out. At times, they have not been very good with their first possession offensively, but they've gotten a couple second shot opportunities and made good on it.
Maxwell lays it in off the glass.
And once again, it's another second shot opportunity. Good first possession defensively by Manhattan, but they didn't finish it off.
At this end of the floor, Manhattan has just continued to struggle. 4 out of 15 from the floor here in the second half. Third foul on DeWitt Maxwell, and the 9th against Fairfield.
And here's a problem for Manhattan. Their 2 freshman stars inside, and Dubois and Anderson, neither one of them very good from the foul line. We saw Dubois go 1 for 2 the last time. That's just about his average. That's the same average that Anderson has, just a little bit over a 50% foul shooter from the line.
Although here in the tournament, Anderson has looked much better from the line. He's 3 for 3 tonight, as you see. And he looked pretty good at the line last night against Loyola. Down to a 5-point game once again. 5:36 left to go in the second half. Aaron inbound. Confusion between Goody and O'Sullivan, and the Jaspers get it back.
It had been a long time since they had turned the basketball over against the full court pressure. Timmy O'Toole's team has done a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball. But their 10th turnover turns it back over to Manhattan.
Goody thought O'Sullivan was going to get it, and O'Sullivan thought Goody was going to get it. And as I said, the Jaspers were shooting poorly, but Fairfield matching a missed shot for missed shot. Anderson tied up and fouled by Goody.
We said in the open, nothing would be easy. Nothing's been easy for either team in the second half. Talk about a game in which you have to grind it out. That's been the case. Good ball movement as they step into the open spot of the zone. And Anderson's got the ability to get into gaps, put it to the floor, and attack the rim.
And so a chance for 2 more from the line.
Clearly, that's the biggest thing that Anderson's going to have to work on in the offseason. We've said it a couple times, averaged just under 17 points per game and left a lot of opportunities at the foul line, just 56% on the season.
And he misses a pair. A couple of huge free throws missed as Dengai is checked back into the ball game for Fairfield. There is Guy. Maxwell gets the air ball, and he'll go back to the line.
That's been their best offense. Put it up on the glass and go get it on the offensive board.
Absolutely. That is absolutely, other than the 2 dunks by Dengai, that's been about it.
Terrence Todd so quick with that first step. He has consistently beat Xavier along the baseline. Xavier looking for help coming from the weak side. Hey, that's the 3rd time he's turned the corner. The help's not there.
Meanwhile, Maxwell continues to hit foul shots. He's now got 14 points. He and Dengai, as well as Terrence Todd, each with 14 to lead the Stags. Meanwhile, Taekwon Goody has not scored. Marty O'Sullivan, the other starter, he has not scored. But the big 3 have done it for Fairfield.
Back to the box and 1 is Maxwell hanging all over Mulligan.
Xavier connects.
And he's the guy that's got to carry him with those outside shots. And once again, he's gotten a couple good looks and has delivered.
Well, he had 20 points last night against Loyola. He's 1 shy of that here tonight.
Pretty good tournament for the freshman. He's been playing his best basketball coming down the stretch. No freshman wall for him. He's broken right through it.
Maxwell working on Anderson. And the bump before the pass. Bobby's still begging.
That says it all. Screen in right here. Nobody able to get there because of the solid ball fake by Xavier. Gets his feet set. Good-looking rotation on the basketball. When the ball leaves his hands, you expect it to go in. You know you're a good three-point shooter when the ball leaves your hands and the rest of the guys on your bench stand up.
And again, Maxwell back at the line. Makes the first. He's got 16. And Xavier has really stepped up. As Rob was saying, he finished the regular season strong, had a 19-point game against Siena, and then again here in the tournament, averaging nearly 20 per game. And unfortunately for Manhattan, Peter Mulligan and C.J. Anderson have not delivered those points here tonight when you've come to expect them to. Dubois got himself some separation and got the shot over Guy. Xavier with a rebound.
Quick closeout by Maxwell to take it away from Mulligan.
And Anderson able to finish.
Nice soft touch in the lane with the runner. Got the lead back down to 4.
Anderson and Mulligan now with 10 points apiece. 58-54.
Manhattan's got to come up with a stop and finish the possession by rebounding the basketball and not fouling. Those are the two things that they've done each of the last couple possessions. Give up offensive rebounds and put them to the line.
Maxwell from the high post kicks to O'Sullivan. 11 on the shot clock. Maxwell spins into the double team. Back to O'Sullivan. Air ball long, and there's your defensive stop you're looking for, Rob.
That's what they did. They finished it off. Forced a tough shot, and not the shot that you want if you're Fairfield. O'Sullivan misses badly, but they come up with the rebound.
3:05 left on the clock. Into C.J. Anderson. Offensive foul. Good call indeed.
Absolutely. Lowered his shoulder trying to make something happen. And that will be the end of the night for C.J. Anderson. That's his 5th foul.
Anderson is fouled out, and that's the reason for the stoppage in play. His night is done with 10 points. And just part of what has been an offensive struggle for Manhattan. We'll take a break with 3:01 left in regulation. Fairfield trying to hold on to a 4-point lead over Manhattan. Well, Manhattan has lost. C.J. Anderson, it was a frustrating night for the MAAC Rookie of the Year. He is fouled out.
And it's been a frustrating tournament all the way around. That's where you want the basketball. Isolated one-on-one on the low post. You see his frustration after picking up that foul. But credit Marty O'Sullivan. Threw up an air ball at the other end, but then comes back and makes a huge defensive play to pick up the charge.
And there you see, he's afraid that his freshman season could come to an end with him sitting on the bench after having fouled out with just over 3 minutes to go in regulation. So in his absence, who will step up? He has provided a lot of the energy in the paint. C.J. Anderson, 10 points, 9 rebounds, but 5 turnovers in his just 23 minutes on the floor tonight, Rob. Goody, a rare shot opportunity for Taekwon Goody, and he missed it. That's just his 2nd shot from the floor tonight. Mulligan. Guy able to get it away.
Mulligan had a good opportunity, went hard to the goal, but instead of putting it up on the backboard, giving it a chance, tried to go straight with it, didn't get it to fall.
Goody directs traffic. Wingate steps out to defend with 11 to shoot. Under 2 minutes to go in the second half. Quick pass, Sagazzi. Up and in, foul on Mulligan.
And a defensive breakdown on the weak side by Peter Mulligan. That's where you need your senior leader to step up. He can't finish at the other end, and then he has a mental breakdown on the defensive end as Sagazzi. You see Mulligan turns his head, loses track of his man. And Fairfield, who has struggled mightily in a half-court offense coming down the stretch, gets bailed out by the defensive lapse.
And that was foul number 4 on Mulligan. Sagazzi with the 3-point play. He's got 8 points off the bench for Fairfield, and C.J. Anderson and Bobby Gonzalez both complaining to the refs about the foul calls.
Can't worry about that right now. They got to get themselves going. They still only trail by 7, but they've got to score quickly.
Mulligan fouled on the shot. Dengai came over to make sure there wasn't a chance of that shot going in. Fourth foul on Maxwell. Mulligan to the line. He's a 79% foul shooter. As Mulligan comes up short on the first, we can tell you about the Balance Bar Food Company and the MAAC are promoting healthy lifestyles to students, alumni, and fans this year. Today's health tip: challenge your kids to a game of basketball, volleyball, or even duck, duck, goose. Make activities part of the family bonding experience. The Balance Bar family of nutritional products aims to aid in the passionate pursuit of everyday endeavors and activities by providing energy that lasts. And Rob, if Manhattan's going to pull this one out, down 7, they got to hit their free throws.
It's just been a tough day all around for Peter Mulligan. It started with the box and one that frustrated him and took him out of his game. Remember, Mulligan, first team All-MAAC selection, averaging just under 20 points per game, but nothing's gone right for him here this evening.
And here is Sagazzi with Todd and Goody in the backcourt, the primary ball handlers for Fairfield. .13 on the shot clock, and Goody will set it up with the time wasting away. 1:10 left in regulation. Todd from 20. Round the rim and out.
Nearly a dagger.
Would have put it to 10. Instead, down 7. Manhattan back the other way with just under a minute to go.
And they're still alive, but they've got to get something going here quickly.
They're alive, but on life support. Dubois begging for the ball, and he dribbles it off his foot, out of bounds.
Well, they may have pulled the plug on that one. Another turnover for Manhattan. Can't get anything going into half-court offense. Timmy O'Toole's team is grinding it out. We thought it would be a defensive battle coming in, and that's exactly what it's been.
48.3 seconds to go. Fairfield has led from the beginning. The closest Manhattan has been was 2-0. They've been able to cut it close, down to 3 points here in the second half, but never any closer. And the foul given up by Minor.
They try to pound the basketball inside to Dubois, who is begging for the basketball, but then with Dengai on his back, just dribbles it off his foot.
So Goody, who is scoreless but is a good free throw shooter at 78%, who, by the way, by playing tonight, has broken Rob Thompson's career games record at Fairfield University. Not a bad number, and terrific job for Tim O'Toole to get out of Taekwon Goody over the years.
He runs the team. You saw a couple different times. Shot clock winded down. He's demanding the basketball from his teammates. That's the type of senior leadership that you need out of your backcourt.
But by missing the 2 foul shots, he keeps the Jaspers alive. Xavier with a good look, and he hits it. And a quick timeout called by Manhattan. And indeed, the Jaspers still hanging in there.
Still on life support, but they cut it down to a 4-point lead. And again, with their full court pressure, if they could force a turnover, they could get themselves right back into it.
Well, this is a new career high once again for the second straight night for Jeff Xavier. 22 points to single-handedly keep the Jaspers afloat from beginning to end. He's been the one consistent offensive force.
And if you were watching Manhattan for the first time and you knew that they had the Rookie of the Year in the MAAC, you'd think it would be Jeff Xavier with the way he's played in these 2 tournament games.
Well, little drama as to who was going to have the Pepsi Slam of the game. We've got a moment here to show you one of 2 Dengai highlight reel jams. Pepsi gets the cola.
Take your pick there as he runs the floor, hanging on with a little swirl around the head of C.J. Anderson on the landing.
He did get the technical foul called on that one, but
I like the alley-oop and 1-1 myself off the baseline out of bounds.
They both were spectacular.
Here's where Fairfield's got to take care of the basketball. Most important, get it in without turning it over.
Indeed, they've done that. And now Xavier gives up the foul in the backcourt. Terrence Todd, the 5th leading foul shooter in the conference at 82%, will go to the line and will shoot 2. The foul on Xavier, just his 3rd.
Gave up the foul quickly. You like to see maybe coming at a guy, try and force it out of his hands, especially with such a good foul shooter like Todd.
C.J. Anderson fouled out about 2.5 minutes ago, so he's just a spectator as Todd shoots 2. Around the rim and out. That was down and somehow came back out. And now Bobby Gonzalez calls a 30-second timeout. So missed free throws, 2 by Taekwon Goody a few moments ago. And then that one helps to keep the door open for the Jaspers.
They've missed their last 3 foul shots. If you're going to finish games off, close games, you're going to have to make sure that you convert it from 15 feet away.
Well, individually for Fairfield, Taekwon Goody has yet to score, but Terrence Todd 14 points, Dengai 14, and DeWitt Maxwell with 16. They've got good balance from those 3, and in a game like this, kind of a slug them out, duke them out kind of game, that may be enough. A couple of young fans made the trip in from Connecticut. Bobby Gonzalez trying to keep the season going. Manhattan with a record of 15-13, only 9-9 in league play. They are the 6th seed, still with some hope, trying to pull the upset of the number 3 seeded Fairfield Stags. But Dengai, the nation's premier shot blocker, trying to move on to the MAAC semifinals. Todd gets 1 out of 2.
Timmy O'Toole takes a timeout and expect them to come out in man-to-man defense and try and keep the basketball out of Xavier's hands. He's obviously been the biggest threat for Manhattan all game long, especially from beyond the 3-point line.
Well, Rob, Fairfield with that 5-point lead, and during this break we've got a chance to tell you about our Pepsi player of the game. It's Dengai with another double-double, 14 points, 12 rebounds, only 4 block shots.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on? Pepsi, it's the cola.
And he was the guy when they were really struggling from the offensive set. They come out of a timeout. Good set play by the coaching staff of Fairfield, Timmy O'Toole and John Carey, Jerry Hobby, and those guys do a good job setting up the baseline out of bounds, and he gets the dunk over top. And then in transition, that little burst where he got a couple points separated him just enough.
And in the second half, Fairfield with only 5 field goals from what I've got. Most of those, like you say, have been ugly.
Yeah.
Other than the couple sets to Guy, they really haven't had anything happen. And even in spite of that, they're able to maintain the 5-point lead.
Because of their defense. I mean, they have really guarded it at the other end. They've confused Manhattan right from the get-go with the box and one. Bobby Gonzalez's team has not been able to get into any kind of flow in the half court. Both teams have really guarded. Just enough offense coming down the stretch from Dengai, and the offensive rebounding for Fairfield to bail them out.
Inbound to Wingate. Shot clock is off with 21 seconds remaining. Manhattan down by 5. They've got to get a shot off quickly. Minor for 3. Sagazzi tried to save it, but he was out of bounds, so Manhattan with 7.7 seconds to go will inbound underneath its own basket.
Whatever your best baseline out of bounds play to try and free somebody up for a 3-point shooter. Here's where you got to pull it out.
Keep an eye on Xavier, number 3, but at this point you can't be choosy. Wingate with the leaner. Count the basket and 1.
Well, he was just looking for the contact to try and get himself to the line for 3 shots. Instead, he gets the 3 points and has an opportunity to cut it down to a 1-point lead.
Bobby Gonzalez says after he makes the free throw, we want the timeout.
The officials are going to take a look to see whether or not indeed it was a 3. Wingate trying to lean in, and the question will be whether or not his foot was on the line.
Well, here's another look, and keep an eye on Wingate's feet or foot. Does he stay behind the line?
Yes, he does.
So he's got a chance for a 4-point play here. This is the closest the ball game has been since 2-0, Rob. It's 62-60 with a chance to make it a 1-point game.
Bobby Gonzalez saying on a make that If they do make the shot, he wants a timeout. Now that they have this stoppage in play, no need to take that timeout. And that's a good thing for Manhattan and Bobby Gonzalez, because if you're able to force a situation where on miss or make you give up the foul and send Fairfield to the other line, you then would still have a timeout and the ability to travel the basketball up the court without the clock running.
So this
big
was the
break for Manhattan.
Ideal
Absolutely.
circumstance to get the chance for the 4-point play.
Absolutely.
The officials now come to the conclusion that we saw and thought was pretty easy on the first look. They've got it and got it right. And so now Jason Wingate, an 81% foul shooter, trying to complete the 4-point play.
And this is huge, because if he knocks the lead down to 1, no matter what Fairfield does on the other end from the foul field, from the foul line, you've still got an opportunity to force overtime.
Wingate misses. Fairfield the rebound, the quick foul with 3.5 seconds on the clock.
Huge miss right there. You don't allow him to get up in the full court pressure. But they're still alive. Now an opportunity to put it away from the line by making 2 with 1 miss, though.
And Manhattan uses the timeout.
They use the timeout to try and ice the foul shooter. The problem is, if you make the first and miss the second on the rebound, now you don't have that timeout left to try and travel the ball up the court without the clock running. So you don't give yourself an opportunity to get off a very good shot.
Well, Rob, this copyrighted telecast of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the MAAC and MAAC Properties, a division of Host Communications. And as we wind things down here on a, what's this, a Saturday night?
Still Saturday. It'll
Round
be Sunday
2.
soon.
Absolutely. Round 2. We want to thank those of you who joined us, if not for all of our broadcasts the last 2 days, at least for whatever part you've been able to make. We appreciate it. We've got 6 games almost in the books, with the semifinals coming tomorrow afternoon at 2 and 4 o'clock, and then the men's championship Monday night, 9 o'clock on ESPN2. One of these teams still alive will be dancing in the streets of Buffalo. Actually, they'll probably be dancing in the hotel room. It's too cold to be dancing in the
outside.
streets of
Might
Buffalo.
be snowing by Monday as well.
But Ryder is awaiting the winner of this one. Iona and Niagara will play in the other semifinal tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
And certainly 2 terrific matchups, no matter who comes out of this game to take on Ryder. And Iona and Niagara have played very good games in their 2 regular season meetings. Whit Maxwell standing at the line. He knows he's got an opportunity to finish this off. The officials back over looking at the monitor again. Not quite sure what they're looking at here. Maybe the clock situation.
Regardless, 3.5 seconds to go. And Fairfield will have a chance at the free throw line to get it back to a 2-possession game. Now, if they make both, you figure the game's pretty much over, short of another 4-point play opportunity.
Right. You never know.
But if they only hit 1, a 3 would tie. And if Maxwell misses them both, Manhattan could win it with a desperation 3, and 3.5 seconds is an eternity if you do secure that rebound. So Maxwell, a 72% foul shooter, trying to take care of business.
Nearly got the shooter's roll. Now on a make. Now Manhattan's got the opportunity to travel the ball long distance. Again, they've taken their last timeout, so they don't have another opportunity to set it up. That's what they did in the last timeout.
Maxwell missed them both. Manhattan's going to have to hurry. Will they get the shot off? Mulligan can't get it off. Bobby Gonzalez looks for a foul call. Doesn't get it. The refs run off, and that's your ball game. The 2-time defending champion Manhattan Jaspers are knocked out of the 2005 MAAC tournament.
They had a chance coming down the stretch. It was a defensive battle. Neither team able to get anything going with any kind of flow in a half-court offense, but certainly came down the stretch. Good solid effort for both, and Manhattan had a chance. They wasted some time off the missed foul shot, not coming up with the quick rebound. And again, without the timeout left to set things up, they were not able to get off a good shot.
Well, the ball landed to the floor. Konovalchik picked it up, and they never really were able to get a good look. Mulligan Never got it off.
And remember, it was a 2-point game, so just go as far into the basket as you possibly can. You don't need a 3, but instead, just as it has been all game long, a struggle for Manhattan at the offensive end, and Timmy O'Toole's team with a solid defensive effort. The game plan of the box and one certainly paid off.
And so the Ryder Bronx up next tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. The Fairfield Stags and Ryder Bronx move on to the semifinals. The favorites in the last 2 games hold on and get the victories. Let's take an updated look at the MAAC tournament brackets. Up to the minute, we are down to 4 at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Niagara, the #1 seed, will get our first look at the Purple Eagles after sitting out with a double bye.
And despite all the balance throughout the regular season, pretty much true to form, the only upset along the way, the 5 seed Iona Gales over top of the 4 seed. So when you've got that 4-5 game, not much of an upset, just surprising how easily Iona handled St. Peter's.
Those tournament brackets brought to you by Pontiac. The first ever G6 from Pontiac is equipped with the most powerful standard V6 in its class. With action, anything is possible. Check out a G6 today at your local Pontiac dealer. Pontiac, official performance machines of the NCAA. And Rob Kennedy, last thoughts going into the Final Four.
Well, certainly Iona's been very impressive. Niagara's got an opportunity to hang around for a couple of days, and now once again the double bye. Niagara having to step up with that first game, and we'll see what the Purple Eagles have.
So the Fairfield Stags have just enough to hold off the 2-time defending champs. Final score 62-60. Our Pepsi player of the game, Dengai, with another double-double. DeWitt Maxwell 16 points. Terrence Todd had 15. The Stags move into the semifinals with a 2-point victory over the Jaspers. For Rob Kennedy, Dave McGarity, and our entire crew here in Buffalo, this is Doug Sherman saying thanks for watching the MAAC Television Network.